Every year, all 32 NFL teams come together for the offseason's most exciting attraction. At the NFL Draft, each franchise looks to improve their teams by selecting the stars of the next generation. But, as many draft enthusiasts know, the outcome is not always predictable. Players expected to become the next NFL superstars often are relegated to the sole remembrance as infamous draft busts. On the other hand, players expected to barely make rosters sometimes emerge as the NFL's biggest success stories. Each player selected by the Baltimore Ravens has this chance, the chance to make a name for himself on football's highest stage. In the next couple of weeks, we will take a look at each of Baltimore's 8 selections in the 2019 NFL Draft class. This is the Jaylon Ferguson story. Jaylon Ferguson was born on December 14, 1995 in Zachary, Louisiana. He attended West Feliciana High School in St. Francisville, Louisiana, just north of Baton Rouge. He is an exceptional athlete, so it should be no surprise that he was a 4-year varsity letter earner in both football and basketball. He earned All-State honors and was named an East All-Star in his senior year. He was also honored with his district and Metro MVP awards, along with all Metro and all district honors. Don't let the small school prospect fool you. Just because Jaylon Ferguson attended Louisiana Tech, a school not known for its football prowess, does not mean he is a subpar athlete. Coming out of high school, he received offers from multiple prestigious Division I teams, including programs in some of the most competitive conferences in the nation. Among those to recruit Ferguson included the SEC's Mississippi State and the ACC's North Carolina State. When Jaylon Ferguson was a wide-eyed freshman at Louisiana Tech, he was ready to make a name for himself. Unfortunately, he did so, in the wrong way. Ferguson participated in a now infamous fight at a local McDonald's. He was charged with a misdemeanor and was forced to pay a $189 fine. The incident prevented Ferguson from participating in the NFL Combine, as the league attempted to crack down on bad behavior from incoming draft prospects. Unlike many that display questionable character patterns at the start of their career, Ferguson's off-the-field issues stop abruptly after the sole incident. For the rest of his LA Tech days, Ferguson was nothing but a model student, athlete, and person. He was even in southern Louisiana during the NFL Draft, helping to clean up after a tornado damaged the area. As a result, teams had a hard time contacting him during the draft. Luckily, the Baltimore Ravens were able to get a hold of him, and Baltimore drafted him in the 3rd round. When most draft prospects make the jump from college to the NFL, it is universally accepted that they are among the best football players in the country. While this is true for all 254 players selected in the 2019 NFL Draft, Jaylon Ferguson may be the only one who can argue that he was the best player at his position in NCAA history. That is because Jaylon Ferguson is the all-time career sack leader in the NCAA. He broke Terrell Suggs' all-time sack record, topping T-Sizzle's 46 career sacks by just 1. Now, Ferguson will look to replace Suggs on the Ravens' defensive front. Some may question why Jaylon Ferguson fell to the 3rd round of the draft after putting up record numbers at Louisiana Tech. The answer, however, is simple. He underwhelmed at his pro day. With a vertical jump of 32 inches, a broad jump of only 9 feet 9 inches, and a horrible 3-cone drill time at 8.08 seconds, many scouts grew concerned about his athleticism, or apparent lack thereof. While the Ravens obviously took this new information into consideration, Baltimore ultimately liked what they saw on the tape, more than any physical statistic. The first thing one will notice about Ferguson is his size. The 6'5", 271-pound edge rusher can strike fear into the eyes of any tackle assigned the difficult task of blocking him. Ferguson's size allowed for easy mismatches against smaller college tackles, but this advantage could be minimized in the NFL. Professional offensive tackles are much bigger and stronger, so Ferguson will need to utilize his other attributes and techniques to retain his dominance. Throughout his collegiate career, Jaylon Ferguson demonstrated his power as a pass rusher. He used his size and strength to bully offensive tackles, usually by attacking them with a staple pass rush technique, the bull rush. The bull rush move requires the pass rusher to plant his arms into the offensive lineman and push him backwards. This worked extensively throughout his collegiate career, and although he played in a non-Power 5 conference, he saw continued success with the move against Power 5 opponents like LSU and Mississippi State. Although Jaylon Ferguson saw great success with the bull rush move in college, he may be relying on it too much heading into the NFL. At the professional level, Ferguson will be more evenly matched with offensive tackles and other linemen. If he relies solely on the bull rush technique, he will be much less effective, as he will not be able to push the big bodies of the National Football League like he did the undersized blockers of the NCAA. The move is sure to generate great plays for the young edge rusher, but the rate these plays will appear at will be much lower should he stick to one move. The good news is that while Jaylon Ferguson reserved the bull rush technique as his go-to move, he did not hesitate to change his mode of attack from time to time. Occasionally, Ferguson would use his hands to try to break free from a block. He also frequently used his body weight to draw blockers outside before cutting inside, and vice versa. If Ferguson can learn to diversify his pass rush portfolio and be more effective with these moves, he will quickly evolve into a better pass rusher than he already is. The Baltimore Ravens did not have a second-round selection in this year's draft, so after taking Marquise Brown with the 25th pick in the first round, Baltimore had to wait until the third round before they could get back into the action. 60 other players were taken off the board before the Ravens had a chance to take their pick. Luckily for the Ravens, Ferguson dropped into the third round, and the Ravens selected him with the 85th pick of the draft. Many draft analysts correctly pinned Jaylon Ferguson as a potential target for the Baltimore Ravens. After the departure of Za'Darius Smith and Terrell Suggs this offseason, the Ravens had a gaping hole at the edge rusher position that needed to be addressed. The Ravens had other options on the board to choose from, but Baltimore liked the high motor that Ferguson brings to this team and decided to take the prolific pass rusher. Although Jaylon Ferguson is a major addition to the pass rush core, the Baltimore Ravens decided that more manpower was needed. Eric DeCosta picked up 2 edge rushers in free agency after the draft. Baltimore originally targeted former Lions edge rusher Ezekiel Ansah, but Ziggy opted for a more lucrative contract in Seattle. So instead, Baltimore reached out to its former star edge rusher Pernell McPhee and a former Denver Broncos first-round pick, Shane Ray, and signed both. All 3 additions to the Ravens' front 7 will have the opportunity to contribute this year. Jaylon Ferguson will make the team without a doubt, but Shane Ray and Pernell McPhee could be roster bubbles. The 2 older edge rushers were brought in to assist a group that lost key players and a locker room leader. But if Ferguson emerges as a viable starter, it is conceivable that at least one of the 2 could be cut. Eric DeCosta waited quite a long time to make his second selection in the 2019 NFL Draft. While waiting anxiously, he managed to stay steadfast in his belief that the right talent would be available at the 85th pick. He was right, as the best player available was one of the most intriguing prospects of the entire draft class. DeCosta selected Jaylon Ferguson, knowing this, and that he will fill an immediate need for the Ravens. It was a win-win scenario for Baltimore. The Ravens also put Ferguson in a position where he is not required to perform right away. If the coaching staff deems that Ferguson needs time to develop, they can limit his on-field reps, as more refined pass rushers in Pernell McPhee and Shane Ray can substitute for him. Overall, the Ravens picked the best player available at 85, filled the need, and put their new rookie edge rusher in a great long-term position. On my evaluation scale, I would have given Ferguson a 6.5 out of 10, making him worthy of a late second-round pick, but the Ravens selected him in the third round, making this a great value pick. I give Eric DeCosta and company an A overall grade for this pick. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more great Ravens content, including the analysis of other 2019 draft selections, which will be uploaded in the coming weeks. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Dominic, aka Ravens Anatomy, for helping out with the graphics seen in this video. Make sure to follow him at Ravens Anatomy on Twitter. You can follow me at Chris Linfont and the Baltimore Feather at BeMoreFeather on Twitter as well.